how did 247 Sports discern what they were going to go watch? Did you wait for Brunsey to tell you?
No. Brunts doesn't order me around. Get that out of your head. Brunts isn't my dad.
He sees no furrowed brow.
No. Bruns considers me the Ang Lee of shooting. That was a director's reference of shooting practice footage with an iPhone. Everybody else has like more higher tech stuff, and I have my little phone. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's not always about size. I can get a lot out of that thing, and so my job is to shoot video with my little iPhone. So I just bounce around, and yesterday was awesome because you had some great running backs trying to pick up Vincent Shavers coming in at 100 miles per hour. I was watching that.
Yeah, he's a frightening individual, isn't he?
Yeah. I was kind of around Terry Braden's crew, I guess. Some of the line stuff. So that's probably what I saw up close the most. And then I had to like zoom in at like times 5.5 to 6 to get across the field with my little iPhone for all the other stuff.
Just speaking about size down where you were, does Williams Nwaneri look like a guy that you could get 280 out of? Is that not the
leanest 270 I've ever seen in my life?
It's like, but he is like 6'13" though, man. That dude is tall.
You could put another 20 pounds on his thighs.
Like you start to see how some of these guys have stretched. It's weird how they carry their weight, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he's got a freak frame. I mean, it's
like that.
Well, I mean, Deshaun McCullough, when he first came up, like a month or two after he got here, he's like, yeah, that guy, like, it's ridiculous, like how he looks. So, I mean, even guys that are in the top shape of their lives kind of look over at him and they're like, yeah, that's different. It's just going to be exciting to see just how they can develop that throughout this year and what his role can be and what he can carve out and gain some confidence with it, make some plays in some games, and then you can keep stacking on that confidence and stacking on that body too, like you're saying, with that weight. And I think in a year or so, then it can really take off. Not that I'm not expecting things from him this year. I'm just saying I'm going into the season like let's just look for a nice build on that.
Ravi was having a discussion about, well, for weeks now, I feel like, even though it's probably only been 3 days, but Keona Davis, his frame, Riley Van Poppel's frame and weight versus, like, let's say Ty Robinson's, and is Nebraska undersized? Now, we've been having these conversations like all off season just because people are now that it's season time. Is Nebraska going to stop the run? Isn't it crazy how, or do you think about, with all the talk that there's been about Kristen and Corey Campbell and his group, how it's almost impossible now to guess weights when you look at these guys, right? You're RVP and you think 295, 300, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
Or where? Or that's a good-looking three. Like, whatever it is that you think about hearing the number, the way that it's distributed look at Malcolm Hartzog, right?
Right.
You're like, really? Wow. Like, you start to get an appreciation for the tandem in which nutrition and strength and conditioning starts to work together.
It's working well when you can go to like the first spring practice, look out on the field, and you can know immediately that's different than I saw like 12 months previous. Like your brain can go back like actually 12 months with body types, and it's that big of a difference with guys.
Yeah, like how was Mekhi Nelson 202? Up 16, 17 pounds still and moving better than he was at 180.
And I would never guess Mekhi Nelson is 202 just looking at him. But that's
you got to
No,
I thought the same thing you did, BC, and he was quick to challenge me.
No, I believe you. I'm just saying that you're right though with the body weights. It's not easy right now to, like, if you had to play a game, they should have a game show if you can get within 7 to 8 pounds on certain guys and see how people do. Maybe make it 4 to 5 pounds, make it a little tougher. But Kristen and Corey Campbell, I know is widely respected by the team, but Kristen, you can't give her enough credit, I think, for the job she does with nutrition and how much the players adore her. And just like how she helps them. I mean, Vincent Shavers is a prime example of that. Like, he came in, put on like 20 pounds in the first couple of months, and not a bad 20. Those guys enjoy it too. That it becomes a process that they like cooking and all that stuff that they get taught, and it's awesome.
I mean, we haven't seen him because he's injured.
How about Dawson Merritt?
Oh yeah, he looks good.
I mean, Malcolm Simpson put on 30 pounds since he got here. Like, there's a lot of guys that kind of fall in that category.
I mean, Dawson Merritt kind of looked like Shane in the spring, and I get it. He was coming off the shoulder injury, and I was like, yeah, he got a long way to go. And all of a sudden, there's like these 20 pounds of most. Because the hard part about it, B, is as a player, you hear a number, and you figure, I know how I feel good.
You think it means a certain thing,
and
right.
you're resistant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you're at that number before.
You're kind of
well.
resistant.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to be able to do this, or I feel good at this, and they're like, no, trust me. And it's like, so you don't listen, you don't do everything you're kind of supposed to do. Meals find their way into the trash, and it's like, hey guys, like, trust the process.
Yeah, then they see what the GPS is showing with their miles per hour. It's tracking higher, and it's like, all right, we'll go with this. So yeah, I do think that it's a good looking team. It's the best looking squad. Just when you're shooting your little iPhone videos or whatever you're doing, that Matt Rule has had, and now it's about those little things and doing them at a high level consistently. Just that drum beat where you do it every play, there's a certain standard. And if they apply that, they're going to win a couple more games this year.
BC, it's funny you brought up Williams and Nwaneri because obviously, I mean, I think I'm higher on the defensive line than just about anybody's been. I don't think that's an exaggeration. But that's a guy.
Nor the 100th time you've said it.
That's a guy I barely think about sometimes when I'm talking about the defensive line.
It's
like to me, it's, hey, whatever you get out of that guy's a bonus. I like them independently of trying to project, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I think I talked about this in the spring, but if there was any other year where Nebraska was bringing in a 5-star defensive end, is there any way that he would be flying this much sort of under the radar? Like, I hardly even think about him in that room except for as, oh, it'd be nice if you get something out of him.
Yeah, it's been good for Williams, I think, in that sense that, we do hype a lot of things up around here, but I don't think in his case, compared to some past seasons, and there's not even really an equivalent to him. I mean, he was ranked number 6 overall in that recruiting class in 247 Sports rankings. That was actually one ahead of Raiola in the final spot. And I do think I'll give fans and media credit on that one. There's sort of been a let him grow behind the scenes deal with him. There's a curiosity for sure about what he's going to be, but I don't think the hype has been too much with him because maybe that's because we've put the lens more on. I've called him kind of the core 4, with Riley, Van Poppel, Lenhart, Judy, and Keona, and sort of what they're going to be. Can they answer the bell? And so I think that conversation maybe has taken some weight off of other people. So maybe that's good in a way.
How about like the youth, the potential youth movement? And Coach Snow kind of alluded to it, and I love it because he's telling us without telling us about what the expectation level is, about development and coming to practice and what it's like to maybe not see the immediacy of playing time, but to still attack the day. And I can't help but to think of guys like Peter Zach and Hofkin and guys like that, where it's like, I may be a couple of bodies away. I'm looking over here at Cam and Lenhart, and this dude may be having the best camp he's had. But I don't want to be the guy to not hold up my end of the bargain. Like, that's really when the true development starts to happen, is when guys take on the ownership of not being the weak link. And it's paying dividends for those pups along the D line, especially if the thought process is, hey, in time, you're going to be the guy. Like, you need to prepare as though that's the case. Like, it's cool.
You know what's so valuable to that point too, I think, is because you can have more staff hands-on now. Like, some of those guys who maybe are realizing right now, I'm not top of the depth chart or quite where I hope to be even in March or April. Some of them are getting coached by Phil Snow, like, a guy like who's been a very successful defensive coordinator. He's done this 4 or 5 decades, and they're getting like hands-on, hard love coaching from Phil Snow, and that'll keep you going. And it shows like that not that they don't think this otherwise, but it's like, man, they're invested in me. They're trying to get me to that level where even if it doesn't happen this year, it's going to happen the next. And then connected with that, you have Ekeler and special teams. And I think this kind of ties with it. If all things are even, as he said yesterday, between some of the personnel they're looking at, if he had his druthers, he'd go with the younger guy, get him out there if it's close, and you're getting him that game experience and all that stuff. And so I just think you kind of put those things all together, and there's probably a better chance you can keep guys who maybe aren't in the first 53 right now, as we would say, going, like seeing like, okay, they're still looking at me closely, and I am just that far away, and these guys are showing it to me that I gotta be ready for it.
It's funny you bring that up, BC. DB and I had this big conversation yesterday. About younger guy versus older guy playing upside in the long term versus playing upside today, right? Because even having coached a different sport and whatever, I would always think about upside as long term, right? I'm going to play this young guy because his upside by the end of the season is greater. And DB kind of brought it home for me and be like, yeah, but their upside today might not be. So if I'm going to live with mistakes, which mistakes do I want to live with?
That's the part that we kind of forget about as a fan base, because the easy answer is, hey, all things being equal,
play the young guy.
Play the young guy.
Yeah.
But coaches sometimes have to think, I'm trying to limit the variables. So even if I'm banking on upside, who still has the least amount of variables right now? Because I still have to achieve the desired outcome, right? Which is to win games. So that's the part sometimes we don't think about when we go old versus young.
Right.
Coaches are thinking, I still want as few variables as possible.
Right. And every individual situation is going to be different. And I think when Ekeler was saying that yesterday, it was more just like, this is basically a tie. Like this guy has got himself to a point as like a redshirt freshman. That's how I took it, at least, where he's even with this guy who has put more tread on his tire. He's used up a lot of miles in his career already out of his position. We might as well let this other guy go. If you can do that in certain cases, which he did very effectively at Tennessee, playing walk-ons and younger players, I do think that has to help your room too. Like guys walk in Monday after a game and they have actual film to look at from having competed. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I thought that was interesting.
I do also wonder sometimes, BC, with the special teams part of it, that I wonder sometimes the mentality of some of the younger guys versus some of the older guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Team culture thing and whatever. But if you haven't gotten onto the field at your specific position yet, like maybe you're a little bit more excited to get onto the field as a special teams guy. And hopefully you don't have that disparity in sort of buy-in or commitment or whatever. But I do think there's somewhat natural where it's like, hey, if I'm working in the 2 deep, right? So I'm seeing the field at my position, like maybe I'm less enthusiastic or less focused on special teams than I am if I'm a redshirt freshman. And I know, hey, if I'm going to make an impact on this team, it's going to be on special teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's your like one thing to make a difference, and you're going to put a lot of juice behind it. I also just think, like, I love when Ekeler said yesterday, put it on me. Just like if something, there's a mistake, right? X stinks, that sort of thing where guys are going to want to play so hard for him and not have that failure. I know you guys talk a lot about how people process information and stuff. That's an example of it where people hopefully take it the right way. Like he had a line where he says, those guys have a free pass then, or so he had some line like that. And I know what that means. And I think you guys do. That's like, you have that freedom, like just go out and do it. Have confidence in yourself. We're going to succeed. So hopefully people understand what's said in a quote like that. But I thought that was a great thing. And I just think there's such an eagerness for people to be in that room right now and want to be a part of those units.
You know what's interesting? I'm listening to this. Well, man, thank the Lord I actually pay attention. Sparks thought, B. Sparks thought. I know some guys that are in the two deep that are also thinking winning a job on special teams and flourishing in it helps them navigate the two deep.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, that's a byproduct of kind of what you guys are talking about if we hold special teams in a high enough regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that's how it was on the crew you played with. I mean, it was like this
Oh,
is
it was, right? It's like, okay, you don't think I can beat this guy out? Watch me with the ball in my arms in the open field. Like, watch me catch this.
Let me show what I can do.
Right? Yeah, I get it. I that's 100%.
You know what, Damon? I saw a game. I was watching it, and kind of because of Ekeler, it was when you guys. It was one of the best Husker wins, actually. When you're undermanned, when you beat K-State out there in '94, and Ekeler was on special teams for K-State at the time.
Yep.
You had a nice play in that game. I think
Yeah.
you forced a fumble. I was like, oh, there's DB popping up.
Smoke that cat, and I was like, and I'm gonna be honest because it's BC, and I feel like I can be. You're not gonna hurt my feelings.
Tree of trust.
I was so mad about giving a guy the ball that many times without subbing. Somebody was gonna feel what I was feeling. Right? I'm like, you really? The plan is to give this ball the guy 40 times when we're pretty good? Like, somebody's gonna pay.
And he only had one arm too, if I remember right. Or he had an injury.
I was so pissed at the Florida game going in about the rotation because LP was coming back.
Yeah.
One of the very first special teams plays, I broke Tate George's broke his shoulder blade on a kick return. Like, I'm like, I was just a jerk, right? It's like, but that's how it is when if you don't get your opportunities other places, like you use that as a way to be like, you know what, somebody's gonna feel my first.
Yeah, in a roundabout way, we actually applied that right to the present right there. Yeah, that's what it's got to be. Like, so someone else has this right now. This is my role. I'm going to maximize it, and it's going to expand roles elsewhere. And so that's the mindset you have to have. And I do think if special teams is really humming, and there is sort of this like, we're going to be one of the best in the country. Do you want to be on the ride? I think that's huge to get guys thinking that way. And that's why I'm all for them kind of pumping it up. When Ja'Cory Barney walked in the room and said, I'm going to lead the nation, I like that stuff. Like, I mean, I think that unit needed an injection of that. It's not whatever happened, it's gone. Don't forget it. This is what we're going to be. We're going to be confident about. Let's go.
You know, it's interesting too, like just maturation going back here and now, because you want guys that approach practice like Barney. Don't let me fool you. I would not enjoy. I want a lot of Barneys out there, but I'm not going to act like he'd be cool to go against in practice all the time.
Oh, he'd drive you crazy.
Because I didn't like guys like that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Phil Ellis was like that, where you just eye roll. It's like, God, not you again. You know what I mean? It's like, I got to see this guy again. I like chill.
Yeah.
But the more you get guys like that, it's either you put up or shut up, or you get hurt. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I think Nebraska should be after.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But Barney's a chatterbox out there. He definitely definitely is
100 miles an hour all the freaking time. And you just don't want to be embarrassed. That's like Shavers. You can lollygag if you want to. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah.
Right? There's just guys out there that force you to be on high alert.
I'm as eager to see Shavers as anybody on this roster this year, just where he elevates. That's not like a bold prediction that he's going to get to this high up the mountain or anything. I just think he has some natural traits with a year of experience that are going to be fun. And I think he can be utilized in Butler's defense in creative ways that really accent his talent. So if you said give like 3 or 4 guys who you're most excited to see, he's on that list.
BC, what do you think about Coach Snow's comments about sort of his role on the team? That's sort of one of the first times we've gotten, I guess, real specifics about it, about who he was working with, how he was doing, and then kind of how he was mentoring some of the other coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just has so much value for this place and time. He would for any program. But when you think about Nebraska's defensive staff, and you have some guys who have been good coaches in other roles, but now it's sort of their big shot, like as full-time assistant types, Terry Braden and Phil Simpson and Addison Williams has been around, but he's got like 25, 26 DBs over there. So you're going to need some help with that. I just think he's that perfect guy to be an in-between between knowing Matt Rule so well that, as you said earlier, he can call him Matt. And it works.
I was like, what the?
Yeah, he's the elder statesman and he can do that. So he's got that connection and knows what the head ball coach, as Ekeler would say, wants. And, you can relay that to the younger guys and stuff like that. But also you can bank on your experiences that you had as a coach up and coming. There's things that I'm sure pop up every day that I would never know about in that profession, that someone can put a hand on your shoulder after this or that and give you wisdom. So I think that's a big deal. And then I'll go back to it. I just think if you're a younger player and you're not sure what your role is going to be specifically this season, if you're on the 2 deep or whatever, if you're getting coached up that hard by somebody with that kind of resume, that has to resonate with you and be a big deal. So I think all those things matter a lot. And then obviously the sounding board he is for John Butler, I think is big. I know in the spring, Butler talked about how he would sometimes ask Phil, just sort of as a gauge, where we at, like kind of big picture, where you think we're at compared to the past. That's got to be really useful, especially this time of year when it's, the knees start to knock maybe a little bit when you're about 2 weeks from a game.
I just think it's interesting listening to you talk about the tutelage that you can get when you're not getting it from the main position coach. I think one of the underappreciated things about what this staff can do for development is you're getting real good tutelage. And I think you saw this. If you were over with Coach Braden, I mean, he's got one of the best D-line assistants. So you look at Coling, along the offensive line with Donnie, the support of the support, I think is equally as important, and it's going to really help you situationally in game if you have to figure something out, if it doesn't have to be done by the main guy.
Right.
Like I can't state that enough.
Yeah, every guy over there, because there's so many coaches and they're allowed it now, has someone who is very specific with that person, who is really knows what their strengths and weaknesses are each day. And like if they do get elevated, I would think would be, like an Adam D. Michelle, like working with the defensive backs. You mentioned Coling.
Great call.
Yeah, I mean,
I love him, by the way.
I'm blanking on his name right now, but Andrew Verbois, who works with DeKeel Shorts. I mean, he's a big deal. Like Dane Key, gets a lot out of him. And so, I mean, all those guys who we don't write about as much are so critical to that staff, but also to specific players right now. They're probably that player's guy, at this moment in a way. And I think that's very useful.
If Dvorak's going to get on a knee and teach a guy some technique that's coming along like Dawson Merritt, that takes away from the total coaching time, right? You have to feel comfortable with your staff that somebody's got your back in those teachable moments. It's crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's our guy, Brian Christopherson, Husker247 BC. Great stuff as always. We appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, B.
Yep.